Come to you from the there is never a dull moment department. And that's just been so true lately. And what is happening right now is that Grok 3 is going to be coming out tomorrow night. It's going to be announced or it's going to be displayed. One thing or another, we're not exactly sure how this is all going to work, but 8 o'clock Eastern tomorrow night, Elon is promising that it'll be better than any other of the systems that are out there, and that this probably means that none of the others will ever catch Grok again. So he's not thinking that after Grok 3 comes out on Monday night that the other guys will just, jump up ahead and then Grok will jump up ahead. No, he's saying once they attain the lead, they will continue to have the lead. So what are we going to see on Monday night? That should be something else again. Well, we also learned that Grok will be in our cars. Now, that was not announced as to how soon, whether that'll be on Tuesday or whether that'll be on the next major release or whether it's still a month away, but it will be coming to our cars. We also know that I'm very much looking forward to that. It'll be fun, useful, great selling features. By the way, if you want to see a little bit how that looks, you can look up, the old show, that had Kit the car. I put that up on X today and ran a little short video of him discovering that his car could talk to him and take directions from him, and he could ask questions. I mean, it's pretty much what we're expecting to see from Grok. Of course, I think this is going to be a major plus for the vehicles. It's going to make it more fun. It's going to make it more useful. It's going to it's going to be a selling feature. I think kids are going to go crazy about it. And if it's done well, I think that it will definitely help to sell cars. Of course, it'll also be a major plus for robotaxis, and that would be a really important reason to have it come up and be available, before the June, whatever date it's going to happen, where robotaxis start to grace the streets of Austin. Well, speaking of robotaxis, Gary Black has been trying to defend his position on robotaxi. He's got a position on robotaxis, that Tesla's just going to be one of many. They'll get some sales, but it really won't be that big a deal. They're not going to be, taking over the entire universe of cabs and Ubers and Waymos and everything else. And so I asked him, I said, okay, Gary, look, point blank, do you think Tesla will get 25%, just 25% of global markets? And his response was, no way. He didn't come back and say, well, maybe 20% or 15% or 10 or 5. He just said, no way. So then I asked him multiple times. I keep asking the same question because when I ask him a question or when I in my opinion, defeat one of his arguments, he always changes the subject. And on this particular one, he has never given a straight answer. So I'm not sure whether he just doesn't have an answer or what, because the question is, where is any other company? Let's say there's a company that has an equal system. The system is equal in its capabilities to Tesla. Let's say Waymo is equal in its capabilities. It's not even close right now. It doesn't do highways. It doesn't go anywhere in the world. It has to go in only pre-mapped locations. I mean, it's not even close to Tesla's capabilities. We don't know very much about the ones that are in China, but we do know that some of the Baidus and others are looking to Tesla, waiting for Tesla to have the capabilities. Because why? Because they need more units. They need more cars that are equipped. So I keep asking Gary, if Waymo had it, if Waymo was 100% ready to go, if some other company, a Ford or General Motors or Stellantis, or I don't care who they are, or any other maker came along and had a system that was equal to Tesla's, where would they get the vehicles? Where would they get enough vehicles to even have 5% or 10% of the market, with Tesla sitting there with 7 million vehicles that can automatically be turned into ready to go robotaxi? Oh yeah, sure. There's a million or two maybe less than a million in the United States, probably less than 500,000 in the United States that are hardware 3 that'll just need to, drive into into a service center, whatever, and have a quick swap out, probably an hour or two at the most in terms of having that swapped out. But other than that, basically you have this massive number of cars already ready to go. Nobody has that. Nobody has close to that. And as we've talked about many times, some people will just say, yeah, I'll put my car out into the world as soon as it's available, as soon as I can do it, I'm going to put my car out and have it earn money for me. And then other people will be buying up the used cars and even seeking people, they might be calling you and asking you if you'd sell your car because the entrepreneurs will want to put their cars out and get some of that business. And then there's this business of Uber having 150,000 Teslas in their fleet. What are those people going to do? Are they going to continue to drive all day long and deal with passengers and sit around and not know what, or are they going to sit home while their car earns money for them? I mean, it just seems pretty obvious to me what they're going to do. So as soon as the regulations allow, I think we're going to see Tesla having the huge majority of all of the business, all the ride-hail business in the United States. I mean, it'll take a while. You have to displace this and displace that, and the word has to get out, and there has to be the right cars at the right place. I mean, it's not simple. It's just going to be all Tesla at some point. Was that 18 months from now? Is it 24 months from now? Now, in those 18 to 24 months, there might be some car companies that come along and have some capabilities that are pretty strong. But now Tesla has the lead. Probably going to have the lead in the US, in Europe, Australia, Japan, and now it's going to be a matter of the other companies catching up. And I've already submitted a long time ago that in China, yeah, it's probably going to be a 2, 3, 4, 5 company race. Maybe Tesla only gets 10% of the business in China. 10% of the Chinese market is not insignificant. I'm just looking for Tesla to get 25% of the US, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Anyway, so now, of course, I forgot to mention Tesla will also be able to produce, 500,000, a million, 2 million, 3 million cars a year. Who else is going to do that? Only one company that I know of that's already putting in that kind of a system in terms of the cameras and everything. But even BYD is not putting in a chip that's going to be able to be switched over to do FSD. Well, anyway, Gary keeps talking about, yeah, anyway, I'm very confused about the whole thing, but I know that Derek Kay, I'm not going to pronounce his last name, the CEO of Uber, he's not confused. He says he's begging for Elon to do a partnership. It's basically what's happening if you watched the show the other day. This is Randy Kirk. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit notify. We've had an amazing weekend. Holy cow. And we got more to come. We got Brian Wang coming on tonight. You don't want to miss that at 7:45. He and I are going to discuss the future of war means no more wars. The future of war means it'll be stupid to have an inventory. Anyway, you have to watch it. It's completely going to change everything. It's going to change the economy. As the economy changes, it's going to help Tesla. I mean, we'll talk about all of that and more. It's an amazing show. Do not miss that tonight. Regular programming tomorrow, but all this weekend, we've had incredible shows. I hope you've seen them. If not, I'll leave a couple of cards later. All right. So what you are watching in DC right now is a masterclass in changing an organizational culture that has been entrenched for over 60 years. That is the US government, the federal government in DC. It's a complete changing. You have a culture there that is entrenched. It has a way of doing things. It is not going to be easily broken. The only way you can break it is to do what what Elon Musk, what the President Trump is doing. You have to break it. You have to completely obliterate the structure of the culture and insert a new culture. That's the only way you can do it. All right. Now, I think that this has started with Musk and Trump and the Heritage Foundation all prepping months and months and months, years even, except not Musk, but for Trump and the Heritage Foundation, they were prepping this for the last 4 years. They were getting it all ready to go. I don't, they got it. So, and then Trump came and Musk came in and he designed his own pieces of the system in terms of how they were going to attack the Doge part of it. Probably also gave some recommendations with regard to the rest. Then between the three, the Heritage Foundation, Trump and Musk, they were able to come into DC and change things so fast and so effectively. It's unparalleled in modern politics, except possibly by Javier Milei of Argentina. He showed it could be done in a system that was even more troubled than the US system. And that also, I'm sure, gave confidence to Trump and Musk that they could do it in the United States. Now, most people don't know what was in the 2025 plan. You know, this was Project 2025. Everybody's so afraid of it and everything else. I didn't read the whole thing, but I read a ton of it, read the first 100 pages, scanned the other 300 pages. What it really was a detailed, and I mean finely detailed roadmap for the administrivia that would be required to get Trump 2.0 off to a fast start. Page after page of this thing contained the names and the pedigrees, the histories, the reasons why various individuals would be suited to the jobs that would need to be filled so that they could just fill those jobs like right now. As soon as they got in, boom, they could put these people in place. There were also recommendations for specific approaches, like the closing of the Department of Education and cutting back on regulations. But these were all just recommendations. Like I could have sent my recommendations, or somebody else could send their recommendations. It wasn't some kind of a conspiracy or something. The Heritage Foundation is a highly respected institution, been around for a very long time, and they came up with their set of recommendations. Trump has used some of those. He hasn't used others of them. And he's done some of the stuff that the Heritage Foundation never recommended. But anyway, they obviously used that roadmap, some of that roadmap that was in there, and then changed it as suited them. So what does this look like then? What is this masterclass I'm talking about? You could take this in grad school as a systematic way to completely change a culture. So it starts, you've heard me say this so many times before, it starts with a clear mission. You have to have clarity on the mission. Well, Trump has been talking about the mission on the campaign trail for months and months and months. Everybody pretty much knew what he was planning to do. And the polling shows that people say what he's doing right now is fulfilling the promises that he made on the campaign trail. So what you do is you want to get that mission clearly communicated to the people that are following you. And then if you get the clarity of the mission, now you have to be prepared, in this case, to massively ready to execute. You have to, the execution has to be incredibly fast. Well, what does that take? Preparation. Well, we just talked about the prep. So we know that the Trump people and the Heritage people have been prepping this for a very, very long time. Elon, he only had 3 or 4 months to prep, but my guess is it doesn't take him very long, and he's got folks that are helping him on that. Next comes the shock and awe. You want to move fast. You want to shift the subjects daily. You want to keep the opponents off balance, and that is what they've been doing. One day they're on, tariffs. The next day they're on closing some department. The next day they're on cutting this many people. On the next day they're on ending all war. And the next day they're on buying Greenland. And then, I mean, it's just every single day they're moving and moving and moving, changing the subject, making new headlines. That way, by the time that the other side, the folks who are fighting this approach, the enemy, if you will, I don't really want to call them the enemy, just the other side, by the time they can respond to one headline, you've moved on. By the time they respond to that one, you've moved back to the other one, and they just keep that going day after day after day. Then you need your strategic advantages. The personnel, you have to have the personnel in place, and those people have to be movers and shakers. You're not hiring bureaucrats for this. You're hiring people that can make things happen. And that's what Trump was looking for. That's what Musk has been helping to make some of those decisions. That's the kind of guy that Musk is and Trump is. They hire movers and shakers, people that get things done. You have to have your weapons in place. What are the methods you're going to use? You have to have the teams ready to go, and you have to get those teams as soon as they're hired, as soon as they're on the ground. They have to get on the job quickly. Now then, you have this very special thing, which is the transparency of being on with the press every single day, explaining what you're doing, explaining what you've done, repeating it, repeating it again, because now you're going to win the PR game. Again, the folks that are against you, the people that are fighting these decisions, fighting these directions that you're taking, they are going to be off balance because you're just speaking clearly in English in a way that the American public can get it. That is how you win the PR game, is to be out in advance. You don't want to be on defense. You want to be on offense at all times, hitting it and hitting and hitting with offense, more offense and more offense. And then clarity wins. This is what they've been doing. Like I said, the message is clear. There's no confusion. Nobody has to try to think, what is Trump really thinking? What does he actually want to do? You see very few articles like that. What does this really mean? What's the underlying motive here? No, this is really clear. Cut government, cut government, cut government. Okay, then you got the 70-30 rule. The 70-30 rule is you only go after the subject matter that you know you've got 70% of the public behind you. You don't take the 50-50s. You don't take the 40-60s. You only, in the beginning, you want to go where the winnings can be, where you can win, 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 and get the American public to be behind you more and more because you are doing the things you promised. You're doing them well. You're executing as you said you would do. And there are things that people want done, like, for instance, closing the border. That's a 70-30 or 75-25 thing. Changing the rule with regard to how many sexes there are in the world there's only two. That's like an 80-20 thing. So you go after those 70-30 things all day long. The next thing is you've got your lawyers on call. You got your lawyers, you got a bunch of lawyers ready to go. You got lawyers that are helping you make sure you're doing these things legally in the beginning. Then you've got the lawyers ready to go when you obviously get sued, people trying to stop you legally in the courts. You've got a great team of lawyers ready to step in and make the arguments in those situations. Okay, then you're going to move fast and break things. This is an Elon Musk thing. And I'm not sure that Trump doesn't agree with it. But what you've got is you get in there, you take all these shots, and some of them are going to break. Some of them are going to be wrong. Some of them are going to be confusing. Some of them are going to, you're going to have to walk them back. But we saw what Elon did with Twitter. We've seen what he just did last year with laying off folks at Tesla. You got to get in there and you got to make the cuts. You got to make them fast. And some things you're going to have to replace. You're going to have to bring some people back to work. Next is the agile principle. You want to be iterating as fast as you possibly can. You see the situation, you run into a roadblock, you're ready to change, you're ready to move. You're not stuck in your methodologies. You're not stuck in some process. You're not stuck in some it must be this way. You iterate, you change. You've seen Trump do this over and over again internationally. He'll say, well, the tariff is going to be this. And then you get into negotiations. Well, no, we'll accept this tariff. And you're iterating, you're making changes, you're working it just like Elon does at Tesla. And then finally, you got to ignore the critics. The critics are going to be there. The critics are going to be sniping at you. They're going to be calling you names. They're going to be protesting outside of your Tesla showrooms. They're going to be giving the one finger salute to members of the community out on the road. They're going to be doing all kinds of horrible things. You got to ignore them. They're mad because why? Because they're getting beat up. Then there's the scope of the battlefield. At this particular time, the battle is being fought on the international level in issues of war and economics. It's being fought on the home front. It's taking place in the politics. It's taking place in the philosophy of government, in the philosophy of international relationships. And even involves geographic changes like the Greenland or the Panama or the Gaza or Canada. You got all kinds of amazing things being recommended and suggested. So let's just look. We're not going to look at everything. We're just going to really quick have a list here of just the things in 28 days, I think it'll be tomorrow, what has been proposed. And most of these are realistic and are seriously on the table. So we'll start with end war. That's what Brian Wang and I are going to be talking about in a little while. Number 2, eliminate nukes. We'll be talking about that as well. So you can, and then 3, cut the militaries of China and Russia and the United States by up to 50%, or by 50%. Well, those 3 things weren't even on the agenda going in, but they obviously would probably all 3 be 70-30 winners if you took a poll on them. Everybody wants to eliminate nukes. Everybody wants to end war. Hardly anybody wants militaries of the size we have to spend all that money on these militaries. So I think these would all poll extremely well. They were not on the list. I had no idea they were going to happen. Did you? But all 3 of those are now realistic. They're out there and they're realistic. And if you listen to Brian Wang in a few minutes, because he's an expert on war, and he's an expert on the machines of war, and we'll be talking about that. Number four, he's requiring NATO to do even more for themselves. That's not a shock, but that's another big deal. And it's causing people to talk about, well, maybe we don't need NATO and maybe we should quit NATO and all kinds of stuff. So number five, Japan upping their military to reduce their dependence on the United States. Number six, ending international agreements that were not beneficial to the U.S. Already, we're out of the Paris Accord. We've got a lawsuit started against the International Criminal Courts. We've dropped out of WHO, and the WEF has admitted that they are defeated. That's all happened in 27 days. In fact, less than 27 days. All those were done like a week ago. Then we've got seven. We've got peace in Israel, and we've got we're working on the finalization of that. And number eight, a new approach to Gaza. That was, by the way, that was not new. That's been around for, I think, at least 15 to 20 years. There's other countries that have years ago said that they would do what's being proposed now, but they were going to do it while the Gazans were, still living in their homes. They were going to build it around them. But now, given what's happened, the idea has been resurfaced, repurposed, and basically the Gazan folks would have to move out for a while in order to make it happen. That's number eight. Number nine, an immediate effort to end the war in the Ukraine. I mean, it's like that they hardly got into the White House and that those phone calls were being made. Right now, there are conversations later tonight, actually, it'd be tomorrow in Saudi Arabia, but there are emissaries from Russia and from the United States sitting down to hammer out the details of how this war is going to end. And I believe it will be ended before summer. I think there'll probably be a ceasefire. They're suggesting there are rumors out there that ceasefire goal is April 20th. Number 10, tariffs are being threatened. Major responses to those countries backing down, agreeing to change things in the favor of the United States. I mean, again, in 28 days, we've already got so many changes beneficial to the United States as this tariff argument has been made and then responded to. Number 11, we've had one bomb dropped. I thought it was only one when I wrote this, but it was actually another one today. There was another, I forget which group, not Houthis and not Houthi, but the Houthi guy was knocked out last week. This is some Syrian guy that was killed today. It's hardly making the news because of everything else. Number 12, Panama has backed down. China is out of Panama. That's happened. Number 13, Greenland is seriously on the table. Number 14, Canada shocked into booing us at hockey games. Number 15, Mexico, feckless as ever, worries about Trump calling the cartels terrorists. That's their big concern. Out of all the things that we've talked about, she gets on and she's all mad because we're calling the cartels terrorists. New agreements with India and Japan. And then yesterday we have the vice president saying to Europe, hey, guys, how can we even hang together if we don't all agree that free speech is like critical to our way of thinking? I mean, so anyway, I probably haven't touched on all the international things. I probably left out a whole bunch of really good ones, but it is a start. And then there's all the things that are happening domestically, not, starting with Doge. I could have had a list of at least 16 things for Doge, and then we could have gotten into the politics and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, anyway, this morning, Western Lensman has this posted. He says, Hakeem Jeffries, proposed by the Democrats as a possible candidate for president in the next election. Yes, Hakeem, I don't think that's going to happen. He is left grasping for a response after ABC's John Karl reads off the massive favorability numbers for Trump. So this is what John Karl said. Donald Trump's favorability rating is higher than it ever was the first time around. 63% favor government recognizing only two sexes. 60% favor deporting illegals. 60% favor expanding the oil and gas production. 59% favor declaring an emergency at the southern border. Trump has put Democrats in the position of opposing his massively popular positions, defending the indefensible, and they have no coherent answers, says Karl. The left has mounted a feeble attempt to protest Tesla by sending out some folks with signs that stand in front of various Tesla showrooms. Some have huge crowds of 8 or 10. Some can't even get enough people together to fill a Tesla. Anyway, Jeffries had nothing to say. I skipped over the end of my last story. I'm so sorry. Hakeem, I mean, literally, you got it. If you go on my X thing and you can watch the video, and he it has nothing. He's got nothing. Anyway, one thought before we get to the economic reports coming this way. The economic reports that we're going to be seeing, and also looking into what's happening in the pre-market, including how Tesla is doing in the overnights. Elon posted this today. During Bill Clinton's presidency, the federal workforce was reduced by more than, are you ready for it? 377,000 employees as part of the National Partnership for Reinventing Government initiative led by Vice President Al Gore. This initiative, literally called the National Performance Review, that was the name of it, aimed to make the federal government more efficient, less costly. The reductions were achieved through various measures, including buyouts and streamlining efforts, with the goal was to cut 426,200 positions. They only cut 377,000. Now, that was Grok's analysis, and we know what Grok missed was this was a bipartisan thing, where the Democrats, this was bipartisan during Bill Clinton's presidency. That was led by Newt Gingrich, quite frankly. Clinton was told, anyway, Clinton agreed to do it. I'll make it less political. So Newt Gingrich and Bill Clinton were the ones that really put this together, and then Gore executed it. Anyway, that would be, evidence of what? Oh, evidence that this is not so crazy what's happening right now. And that last time it ushered in a half a decade of prosperity. Okay, on Monday, February 17th, we have, what do we have? Nothing, just a bunch of Fed speakers. That's all that's going to happen tomorrow. Then on Tuesday, we've got the Empire State Manufacturing Survey, which was down 12.6% last month. This month, they're thinking it's be down another 1%. We got to get the manufacturers back to work. Then we have the Home Builders Confidence Index. That was at 47 last month. They're thinking it's going to drop to 46. I don't think so. The interest rates have fallen again below 4.5. I think the home builders are going to be more confident than that. We'll see what happens. Then on Wednesday, we've got the housing starts numbers. They think housing starts are going to be down from 1.5 last month. That's an annualized basis, to 1.4 on an annualized basis. I don't have a good sense of direction on that one for this particular month, because there was almost the entirety of last month, in fact, 6 weeks roughly, I think, the interest rates were up. So that wasn't good. And same thing on building permits. They're expecting that to fall from 1.48 to 1.46. Then at 2 o'clock on February 19th, so we'll talk about that on Wednesday night with Jeff Lutz, the minutes of the Fed's meeting. Probably nothing particularly interesting there. They've already indicated that they're pretty hawkish right now. On Thursday, we've got the regular initial jobless claims. They've been in such a range. They're expecting it to still be in that range. I think it's getting boring. What we really want to know is continuing claims. That's what should be on this list of things to watch for. Philadelphia Fed Manufacturing Survey comes in last month. I don't understand these numbers, so I'm not going to give them to you. So we'll find out what actually happens on Thursday without me trying to guess what's going on there. Then we got the U.S. leading economic indicators. It was down 0.1% last time, and this time they're saying it'll be flat. And again, my point has been over and over again that nobody pays any attention to it anyway. Number one is on Friday. We've got the S&P Flash U.S. Services. They're thinking that'll be down a tad from 52.9 to 52.6. We've got the S&P Manufacturing PMI. They think that'll be down a lot from 51.2 to 50.7. So that would indicate slowing in the overall economy. You've heard me say it. I'm not declaring a recession, but I can tell you what, there's going to be a recession in Washington, D.C. Housing prices are falling like crazy. Lots and lots of homes in the market. Expensive homes, really expensive homes, $1 million, $5 million, $10 million homes on the market. And so there's going to be a recession in DC. We can count on that. And people are saying, well, Randy, you don't sound like you're very, you don't have a lot of empathy for those folks that are losing their job. And I've told the story many, many times, and that is I have had tremendous empathy for my employees when I laid them off. And it took me a couple of years of laying people off and really, losing a lot of sleep over it until I realized, oh, when I lay these people off, I'm saving everybody else's job. Because if I don't lay these people off, there's a good chance the company goes broke and everybody goes home. That's what we got in America right now. If we don't start cutting back on government, everybody goes home. So existing home sales last month were 4.24 million. They're thinking that drops down, although I'm kind of hearing the opposite, that sales of homes right now are pretty good. Anyway, we'll see what happens. All right, so let's take a look at the pre-market. Well, let's look at, since I've got it right here, let me look at the after hours, the overnight on Tesla, down $1.95, it says here. Let me refresh. I think there's a chance. Nope, that's correct, apparently. So down $1.95, so no real action there, which is kind of true across the board with regard to all of the numbers right now. At least when I looked earlier, we've got bonds. I think unfortunately, I think the app is broken on the bonds. It is showing the same as they were on. Now, there's a possibility that the bond market isn't open tomorrow. I should have checked that. Tomorrow's President's Day. The stock market is open, but I'm beginning to think maybe the bond market isn't because it's stuck at the same prices as it was Friday night. So if there's no pre-market, that might indicate that there's no bond market tomorrow. Anyway, we got oil down another 31 cents, $70.43. This is the week we go under $70. I'm promising you that, no, okay. I continue to predict that even though I missed it on Friday by 46 cents, we will see it hit it this week. Brent is also down 19 cents. Natural gas down 3% at $3.60, right in the middle of its recent spread. Gold is down a tad, $4.30, 2,896, so just under 2,900. Silver down 0.75% at 32.61. Copper down 0.42 at 464. Again, kind of in the middle of where it's been. The dollar is hardly moving, almost nothing. We got Bitcoin down 11.28 for the day at 96.85. Again, right in the middle of its recent range. And here we go with the equities pre-market. The Dow up 17.04. S&P up 475.08. And the NASDAQ 28.75 up, or 0.14. So slightly up on all the equities. All right, and just for fun, go back and make sure my app wasn't broken on that information on. No, well, you know what? Again, it's kind of stuck at a negative $1.95. I'm a little nervous about that number. Maybe you could let me know in the comments below. Was that a problem also with regard to Robinhood not giving the right numbers, because it's just not moving at all, and it usually does. Okay. So that's all I got for you right now. I should let you go. You probably have other things to do. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Don't forget Brian Wang at 7:45. You absolutely have to see that show. Earlier today, I did Warren Redlich. You know Warren. It's always amazing. Warren always has completely different things, completely new things to throw into the mix. We had a great time together. Go ahead and check that out. I'll put that card up there. Lots of stuff over the weekend. If you missed it, just go back and check it out. That's all I got. It's been great talking to you.